Hey guys, what's going on? It's Evan, and I'm doing a kind of off-the-wall kind of thing today, where I talk about my film schooling experience so far. I just want to be clear that I'm nowhere near done with my film schooling. I'm about 3 years in now. I haven't done as much as I'd like to, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning more as the years go on. That being said, I do have a lot to talk about, and there is a lot of stuff that I'm really excited to share with you guys that I've learned from film schooling, and some of the reasons why I think that film schooling is actually really fucking important and really good, I think. So I want to start out with my language of film class, which was the very first film class that I ever took towards my major at Brooklyn College. This class was basically what opened me up to this whole new world of what movies are and what movies can be, and I wasn't aware of a lot of this back when I was making videos pre-2015, I think. At the time of my starting this class, I was actually just in the middle of creating my looping and time fate video, so it should give you an idea of around when this was happening. I was still shot planning for it by the time I had started this class. And I think that that class had a big influence on that short and how that short ended up. I learned a lot of things in my language of film class, a lot of things that I didn't even think about when I was watching movies originally. With movies, the way I used to see it was like, oh, this just needs to be exciting, or oh, this just needs to be, engaging in that, in the most surface level way, like, just enjoy, like, the flashy and the, like, it's got to be needlessly complicated in places. Like, that's how I saw good movies. And it was crazy because what this language of film class does, and what I think film schooling does, like, in general, is it forces you to sit in a room and to watch movies that you wouldn't otherwise watch. Difficult movies, movies that, from foreign directors, not just American movies, stuff that makes you see how different directors see different things. And it opened me up to the world of themes. Now, themes are my favorite thing in movies now. If you put a gun to my back and said, what's your favorite thing about movies, I would say it was themes. Themes is the thing that kind of I find the most interesting, and I learned about themes from this class. It was the thing that really got me interested in a whole new thing about movies. I never thought that I could learn anything new like that from a movie, and that's kind of crazy to me. Like, I always figured that movies were like one thing and one thing only, and I just learned from this class that there's so much more to movies that I didn't know about yet, and I think that's the most important thing about the film education part. It forces you to really learn about stuff you otherwise would never have thought to even pick up a book or or watch a video or do anything else you could do at home on. Like, it forces you into that environment, and I think that's one of the reasons why film schooling is so important. So in terms of my film education, the language of film class was one of the most helpful things that I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of, really. Everything else that came after was definitely helpful, but that really set me on the path and really helped me realize what I'm interested in. From then on, you can kind of see the quality shift in my filmmaking. Like, you could see that a lot more care in certain places was put into what shots I used, maybe why. It was the beginning. It was the stepping stones for what I'm currently trying to do with my film stuff. So another film class I took that wasn't necessarily a major class, but actually was a class with the same professor, was a foreign cinema class. So I got exposed to even more foreign films and even more off-the-walls ideas from different directors in different countries and stuff. A lot of Asian films, a lot of Russian films, a lot of European films, like different things rather than just American. It's like there's a lot of extra stuff that I learned from them. And then I took a film technology class. This one was also not towards the major. It was another elective type film course like the foreign cinema class. And this is the class that I think helped me the most in terms of cinematic lens. By that I mean it's the class that basically challenged me the most, because it was a class where the professor showed some of the most challenging movies I've ever seen. These movies were incredibly difficult to watch. A lot of them were just one unbroken take. A lot of them were very strangely edited, very unconventional, None of these movies were contemporary films, I guess is the best way for me to put it. So a lot of these movies didn't really adhere to my contemporary sensibilities. A lot of people nowadays are more used to contemporary movies. Movies that are filmed and cut a specific way, for faster, pacier audiences, audiences that have less attention to detail. That's what contemporary movies are usually focused on. Even modern blockbusters are more contemporary than not. And the thing that this class did for me was that regardless of whether I liked or disliked more than half the movies that were played during the curriculum, it challenged me. And I was forced to sit and I was forced to absorb these movies. And coming out of that class, I kind of like developed this whole thing in my head where it's like, I don't think there is really such a thing as a boring movie. There are movies that are more or less challenging, and the more challenging they are, the harder they are to sit through. And I think that those kinds of movies are actually just as interesting or useful to studying film. I think that was the class that I took the most out of, and I think that that's, you know, something I'm going to hold with me for a long time when I'm making movies and watching movies from now on, you know, like, to be patient with movies and to be attentive, and that the movie shouldn't be trying to win our attention, we should be trying to win the movies, if that makes sense. You know, I don't think that anybody should watch a movie thinking, oh, this movie owes me a good time. I think that if you're going into a movie not to be challenged or to think, then you're doing yourself a disservice. That's what I basically got from that class. So while I was taking that film tech class, I was also taking my screenwriting class, which was towards the major. I love that class. I think it's where I really started to learn how difficult it is to write. I think a lot of people think that it's really easy to just say, you know, oh, they wrote themselves into a corner, or oh, they could have just written this, or why didn't they make this happen? There's a lot that goes into stories that makes them cohesive and flowy, and I think some of my best writing actually happened while I was taking that class, because it was a class that was really challenging me to, you know, to do better. My professor would constantly give me like a mountain of notes that I wasn't used to, because what I was used to prior was just making stuff and just making it the way I wanted to. And I think that was another helpful thing, was the idea of getting notes from people and all that. Because feedback is important, you know, if you're just stuck inside your own head all the time, you're not going to understand what doesn't need work from the eyes of somebody that may have more experience in that sense. And my professor was really helpful in that sense. He would send me constant notes, and I think by the end of that semester I had written a script that I can't wait to make. I really want to make this short film at some point in my life before, you know, I really want to make it. Like, I really want to make this. And I think a lot of the stuff that I was making at the time, namely mostly the first season of Stan Frederick, was kind of reflective in that, because that was the same year I was taking that class. I think it's really cool. I think there's a lot to be learned from writing, and I think that I have a lot more to learn. And now I'm currently taking Production 1, the Intro to Production class, in my third year of school. So up until now, I've really been taking it kind of slow with how I've been doing my film major stuff, because I've been so focused on core classes. I think that I'm going to start going forward a little bit faster in terms of the film stuff, because that's the stuff I really need to know. My Production 1 class is something else. I haven't finished it yet. I actually have another week and then it should be over. But I really have been enjoying it, and I think it's one of the toughest classes I've ever taken in terms of the workload, in terms of the expectations of the professor. There's just a whole lot of stuff going on there. I've also done the most in this class. It's taught me how to collaborate with a director and other people, and to direct myself. There's a lot of field work where we go out with a camera that they give us. They actually provide you with a 16mm Bolex camera, which we've gone out and shot a couple of things with, and I've really enjoyed that experience. It's a different kind of thing. Film terrifies me, like actual roll film, like that stuff really freaks me out, because there's a lot more to keep track of and to make sure things don't happen. You don't want film getting overexposed and all this stuff. And it's really interesting. It's all really good for me to know. And, you know, I've done digital projects too. They've actually provided us with DSLRs like the one I'm using right here. This is my camera, I'm just saying. They provided me with that stuff, so I've been able to shoot with it and to do interesting stuff with it. I've helped my friends with their final projects, so I've even gotten more directing experience in just helping people with their stuff. And I've also begun shooting my final project myself, which is really exciting. I've pretty much finished all of it. There's just a couple things, pickup shoots and all that stuff I need to do. It's due in the next 2 weeks, so I'm really excited to show that off. And yeah, this has just been a really great experience for me all around. I really would say that I think that film school is important. I can't say it with certainty. You know, I don't think that the degree is a necessary thing. I think that it's great for you to learn the language stuff and for you to learn the basics, and because at the end of the day, film is a creative thing. So once you have the basics of what psychologically makes good movies, and what, you know, scientifically or whatever, you know, what makes a good movie by the numbers and by the foundation, you know, once you have the foundation, you pretty much have what it takes. Or you don't, you know, that's something you figure out, not something that, you know, school can teach you beyond that. Though I do think that the schooling is incredibly important, because without it, I think I wouldn't have ever gotten anywhere. Self-teaching is a really great thing. I've been doing it more or less for about 8 or 9 years. and I learned a lot and I did a lot, but I only did what I wanted to do. And I think that's the really important thing. Film school forces you to do the stuff you don't want to do, and it gives you an appreciation for it, and I think that that's important. You have to appreciate all aspects of film, or else you're going to make something that isn't the sum of its parts, which, in my opinion, is one of the most important things about making movies. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I just wanted to talk about this stuff. I want to make an update video to this in a couple of years, probably, talking about how things have been going since now, how much more I've learned, what other things I kind of picked up on, and yeah, it's going to be a really interesting ride. I'm nowhere near done with film schooling, so I'll see you guys in a couple years for that. Feel free to like this video, subscribe if you really like my videos. I'm going to start doing more video essays, discussions, stuff like that whenever I have a chance. I'm currently working on other stuff, including finishing the semester of school with decent grades, so wish me luck on that. See you guys.